back to the Wooden Burn YouTube channel. My name is Emily and I am here today with a really fun little knitting vlog, hopefully series, that frankly I have no business starting. I am a wife and a mom and a homemaker, and I live in Kentucky in the United States with my husband and our two beautiful little boys, and I'm a knitter and a sewist and a crafter and all the things. And today I am starting a project that I was absolutely 100,000% influenced to start by Shauna of Shauna Stitches. Well, Shauna and Neil, but mostly Shauna. I am gonna be trying out my first mystery knit along. So if you're not familiar with Shauna, Shauna has a lovely YouTube channel where she talks all about her knitting, and she is just so inspirational in that the projects she works on just look so fun, and she's so enthusiastic about them that you just want to cast on all the exact same things that she's casting on. And her videos are just lovely, and I truly enjoy watching all of them. So she has cast on the Rujuu, I believe is how you pronounce it, sweater, which is a mystery knit along that is created by Zanette Knits, and it's a worsted weight colorwork sweater. Now, if you have watched through my 12 cast on series, you might be going, Emily, you don't like colorwork. This is true. This is very true. And I debated for a good long time, like several days of thinking about it and going back and forth on do I, don't I, do I, don't I, do I, don't I. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to look at my yarn stash, and I know that I have some worsted weight 100% non-superwash wool. I'm going to look and see and just, you know, calculate how much yarn and yardage I have, and, you know, if I happen to have the right amounts, it's good to use it and get it out of my stash. So it wouldn't hurt to check. And of course, I've got a giant bag of yarn here. So I am going to be casting on, and I am actually trying to film this quickly before I need to get my toddler up from his nap so that I can cast it on while the baby's still down so I can focus a little bit. I'm also going to be very cheeky and not properly swatch, and I just hate swatching, and I just don't have time for swatching, and I'm okay with however the garment turns out. That's my caveat. If it turns out wonky, it's my fault. So I'm not going to go over every single colorway of yarn that I have, because I have a bunch of different yarn colorways. Over the summer of 2025, my sister actually found a large amount of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted, which is a non-superwash 100% wool, at a thrift store for $1 a piece. And she had texted me and was like, hey, like, is this a good deal? And I was just like, oh my goodness, yes. And so she got all of it for me, which was very sweet of her. So I have, these are all my like purples and blues and teals, and I guess you can say kind of cool shades, although some of them I do think lean towards the warmer side, but the cooler shades, we're gonna call it that. So that'll kind of give you an idea of some of the colors. And I am planning to use this set of colors for my color C for the sweater, which in the pattern it says that you can swap out what color you're using per section of the chart. And so my plan is that this is definitely going to be quite scrappy, and I will just swap out and use whatever color of yarn from my color C collection that works best with my color B or color A selections. So all those, you can kind of get an idea. Then for my color B, I'm not going to take it out of the bag right now because I don't feel like it. I mainly have these 4 skeins, so the orange, gold, and the 2 browns. I went ahead and popped this white in here just in case I ended up needing another, a little bit more for my color A and D. I'm not planning to use it, but if I need to, I will. So these are going to be my color Bs, and this is what I mean where it's like, you know, maybe this gold would contrast better with this one, or like the browns, you know, they might blend in a little bit more. So it might be better to make sure I don't use it with a darker color, but I could use the gold with the darker color, like that sort of a thing. I'm kind of planning to play with it a little bit. And then I have a number of different cream yarns in here. I have a little bit of a leftover of Lion Brand Fisherman wool in the oatmeal colorway. And then I have a couple skeins of this I Love This Wool, which is 100% wool, 220 yards to 113 grams. And this is, I think this is discontinued now. This is in the biscuit colorway. I got this when it was on clearance sale, but then I saw it on sale afterwards where they still had some of the I Love This Wool, but in the last probably few months I haven't seen this wool at Hobby Lobby. So I don't think it's there anymore. So I have those, and then I have these two colors of the Wool of Andes, the Oyster Heather and Mink Heather, that I will plan to use to kind of fluff out the rest of my color A needs. I'm hoping to use these two because I have two of these skeins in the biscuit colorway. I think they're both biscuit. Yep. I'm planning to use these for my color D, which is all of the ribbing details. I want to use these for all of that so that I have the most consistent, cohesive, they're all one color rather than having, like, you know, the cuffs one yarn, the button bands another one, the collar another one. So I'm going to use these as much as I can throughout the body of the sweater. And then I do have a little bit over yardage for color D of these two, and so I'm planning to use, if I need to use them in the body of the sweater, I will use those in there. There we go. I'm planning to knit the third size, and I'm planning to do the steeked cardigan version. So I feel a little bit insane, especially after all of the cast-ons that I have just done, but we're going to go for it. We're just going to see what happens. I haven't had a project in mind for all of these yarns. I don't typically knit with non-superwash yarns, and so something like a steeked cardigan is actually perfect to use up a bunch of this stuff. And I've had like that Hobby Lobby yarn and that Fisherman's Wool yarn in my stash for a very long time, and just haven't done anything with it. So if I can knit this cardigan and it's successful, it would be an amazing thing to get all of this yarn out of my stash. So that is my hope. That is my goal. I'm going to sit down and try and figure out and cast on for clue number 1 because clue number 2 comes out this Friday. So let's see how we get on. Alrighty friends, a little update for you on my Rujuu, I think that's how you pronounce it, my Rujuu sweater. So I had completed clue 2 last night in time before clue 1. I completed clue 1 before clue 2 came out, and I had actually started clue 2, and I was a little bummed because I was like, well, I wanted this video to be all about clue 1, but it's nighttime and I didn't really have a chance to do an update for you guys or anything, and so I was like, well, it is what it is. I'll make the video where it's clue 1 and clue 2 together. So I got it all done, and I started the first few rows of clue 2. And I just kept looking at it, and I kept looking at it, and I was like, this isn't right. This isn't gonna work. I have some pictures and videos of my previously completed clue 1 that I will pop up in here. And if you remember, I was using a navy blue, my white, my beige off-white, and a bright pop of orange. And those were the 3 colors that I had in my clue 1. And the orange was going to be a big section with like the short rows in the back. And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, it's just not looking the way that I want it to look. And I think that the orange is going to be too stark. And I even had plans to use this gold yellow as another one of my color Bs. And I just realized that with the other colors in here, like I was looking at it as it was kind of knit together and stuff, and the other colors that I'm going to be using, or the colors I'm going to be using for the color C, are a lot of like, I guess you could almost say like autumnal shades. It's hard to see in this lighting again, I'm sorry. I meant to do it over there, but I have a baby who's decided to start teething, and so he's up super early from his nap, so working with what I got. You can't really see it super well in this lighting, but there's a lot of like purples and tealy blues, and I just knew that like this golden yellow and the orange that I had were gonna stand out too much, and it was just gonna be this weird like punch in the middle of the cardigan that wasn't gonna look cohesive. It wasn't going to have the look I wanted, basically. I think it probably would have looked fine, and I was umming and ahhing a little bit about whether or not to frog my short rows and redo that portion of clue 1. And in the end, I decided to go ahead and do that, because I was like, realistically, I'd rather do it now rather than get the whole thing done and then really regret having that pop of orange in there. I still really love this orange color. Like, it is so fun and not as bright as it is showing on screen. I absolutely love it, but I would probably just save this for a hat or a cowl or something like that. Maybe do some sort of a colorwork thing with these two, make a really bright, fun that. But what I have decided to do is I am going to use this brown. This is Amber Heather. Again, hard to see in this lighting, but it's a really lovely, like almost rusty brown, and so it's got like little flecks of like reddish in there. And I'm already liking it so much better, and I've only done like 2 rows. So there's where we're at the moment. I've started the first section of the short rows. And what I've decided to do for the short rows, in the pattern it calls for Japanese short rows. I would love to try that technique at some point, but I have just realized that for right now, I'm going to stick with my German short rows that I know how to do and I've done a million times and they work really well for me. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I did that the first time around and it was perfect. It was fine. It did the job. And it wasn't even that noticeable. So I'm going to stick with that again this time. But yeah, so my plan is now, instead, what I'm going to be doing is I have these two kind of browns, and then I actually have another, my baby's dropping snacks. I have another skein, hank, whatever you want to call these tube things of yarn, of the fisherman's wool in like a brown, and it's a beautiful nutty brown, and I'm going to use that because I need around 310 yards, I believe, of the, or is it 330? It might be 330, somewhere around there, of the color B. And so between these two, I have 210 yards, or 220 yards, and then the reason I hadn't pulled out the other fisherman's wool to begin with is because I'm planning to use that for another project that I'm very excited about, but frankly, can't cast it on. I am not allowed to cast it on. I have too many things on the needles at the moment. I really want to cast it on. I'm going to talk myself out of it. Yeah, so I hadn't pulled it out because I wanted to use it for that other project, but I did some calculations and I figured out I should have just enough to use that brown for both this project and that other project. So that is my plan. All of my color Bs are going to be browns, and then I will have all of my color Cs will be the purples and blues and whatnot, and then my color A is going to be the creams and beiges. And I think that I'm going to like that a lot more. It's going to be still scrappy because I'm going to be swapping out my color Cs. So like the next section, instead of having this navy blue for the color C, I'm going to have a different blue, like a teal for the color C, and I'm going to kind of do that for like each section to kind of try and swap them around, and I'm really excited about that. But I think it's going to look better rather than having like this assortment as, here we go, as some of my color Bs. I think that these two are just a little bit too stark, and I much prefer the idea of like the browns with the blues. So that's my plan. I'm going to try and do a little bit more on this one since the baby's up really early. I don't know how far I'm going to get, but it's just the short rows that I have to redo, so it wasn't like I had to rip out any, well, I had to rip out like 4 rows of color work from Clue 2, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And again, I would rather do it now than wait and really regret it later. So I had to rip out a little bit of color work for that, but then this whole section is just one color, and so it's really simple, and I should be able to get it whipped out and ready to go. But yeah, so I'm going to try and keep this video to being just Clue 1, which means that hopefully when I come back to update you, I will have Clue 1 completed and I will be able to film a snippet before I start Clue 2. Here's hoping. Okay, Okay friends, my husband just took our two little boys outside. We woke up to a beautiful wintry snowy wonderland this morning and it is freezing cold out there, so I have like 2 minutes. But I desperately wanted to finish out this video and showing you guys clue 1 for the Rujuu sweater so I can get going onto clue 2 because I really want to. Shauna from Shauna Stitches has uploaded her clue 2 video and I'm not letting myself watch it until I finish clue 2. And I don't want to wait. So, without further ado, here is where we are. I got clue 2 done last night. Super simple, super easy. Or clue 1, not clue 2. Goodness gracious. There we go. That's how we're looking. I am so much happier with this. I think it's gonna look so much better. I still love the orange. The orange is beautiful. I was saying in one of the Telegram groups that if all of my color C was just blue, I would have been totally fine with the orange. But the blue and purples I think look beautiful together. Purple and orange is one of my I loathe purple and orange together. No insult to anybody who loves that color combination. I just do not like it. It reminds me too much of Halloween, and I'm one of those people that absolutely hates Halloween. My poor husband, I drive him nuts every year when Halloween's coming because I hate it so much. That's neither here nor there. So I am just so glad that I pulled it back, even though it was a little bit annoying and I didn't necessarily really want to, but it was pretty quick to get it back up to this point. And I'm ready to get chugging along on clue 2. So, there we go, have it. That's clue 1 of the Rujuu sweater by Zanette Knits. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. Yeah, just super pleased with it. My steek stitches are over here. There we go. There's the steek stitches. I'm super excited about steeking. And that's about it. I don't have anything else. That's where we're at. I'm really excited to get going because the next color is going to be, I'm going to be swapping out my color C for almost every clue, every section, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to give it a nice scrappy look and I think it's going to be so much fun. It's going to make it really fun to knit it. So my color C for the clue 2 is going to be different than it was for clue 1, and color A is going to be mostly consistent throughout, in that it's going to be very similar shades of like beige and cream and whatever. And then B is going to be pretty consistent because it's just going to be different shades of brown. But color C is going to shift around. Anyway, there you have it. Clue 1. I am really enjoying it so far. I'm itching to get started on clue 2, and I'm very curious to see how it's going to look when that's all knitted up. So, thank you for watching the first video. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and stay tuned because I should be able to get the next one out pretty quickly. So, that's all. Bye.